this.
Okay, so this is part two. Just to this is part two. So
Okay.
just to finish off where we were.
Right.
Um, Now I did an interview about a month ago with a lady in America,
Right.
and she's become the governor of Kansas or something like that, uh,
Yeah.
for the old republic. So the old republic is ready to start up. It's all in place, and
Sure.
so we'll
It,
see what happens.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. All I can tell you is it's going to be contested. Both sides will be accused of cheating. It will not be decided by Wednesday morning, November 6th. And it will be the first time ever that it will be legally challenged, meaning both sides will say they have president-elect. And sorry, just to finish off the Trump thing, for anyone that says, "Oh, Trump did this all and he's working behind the scenes and blah blah blah," it's like, then why did he lose? And if he loses again, why did he lose again? You tell me he has all this power to run the government like a puppet master, but he can lose an election? No.
Well,
Nope.
you've heard of the final experiment.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
No,
Yeah.
no, I was just going to say that this could be the final election.
Ah, well, as much as I don't want to quote, because he didn't come up with it, Elon Musk. I could talk a whole day on that guy. Um, it's not. It might. All right, I will say this, and 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 I didn't talk about this. I'm making a video on it next week, a little 60-second TikTok. But here's why it's so significant, which is if they figure out how to make her win, right, to where it's actually gonna, actually win the election where the media calls it. It's like we declare that Kamala is the president. The Republican Party is done. And that's not hyperbole, right? It is, or hyperbole is not the right word. It is not an exaggeration. It meaning what I mean by that is if you can take a candidate that came out of nowhere, right, the last minute and make her president, then you can make anyone president, which means the blue team then, the what's the saying? It runs the table at that point. The red team is useless. There's nothing they can do. They're done, which is why people are saying you can't. It's. I called this some months ago, and I basically said it's for all the marbles. This is an all or nothing deal. Whoever wins this runs the show, and both sides know it. We become so polarized here that I know it sounds like drama, but it's not. Blue team and red team have become so polarized that beforehand, like you could go to parties here, for decades and decades, like Republicans and Democrats in the same party. No one, it's like, oh yeah, we disagree on this and this, and who cares, right? Now they won't even go to the same parties. They won't even sit next to each other at restaurants if they know who they are. So it's bad. It's really, really
So
bad. And so
what do
yeah,
you think the odds are? I'm talking about the odds as in betting odds.
yeah,
Kamala or Kamala will win fair and square.
none, none. But at the same time, no, it will not be a fair election from either side because both sides the stakes are so high that I challenge any Republican to be like, look, if you could cheat to guarantee an election win, would you do it? 20 years ago, they'd be like, nah. Now, oh yeah, you bet they would, which is why it would not surprise me if all of a sudden there were conflicting reports of I'm not saying that like Texas would go blue or anything like that, or California would go red, but it wouldn't surprise me if Fox News was giving different results than NBC or ABC or CBS or those guys, where or there were states flipping to a different color that shouldn't be. And surprising, if you hear that term more than once in the evening, it's like, wow, this is a big surprise. Well, then you know something's up. So I think both sides are gonna throw everything but the kitchen sink at this and then see. and then it's going to go to court, and who knows what's going to happen to that. But the big thing,
Well,
sorry, I don't want to drag this out. Here's the big point. The big point is it's bigger than America, which is I'm a big believer that the New World Order can't really get going until America is knocked down a peg. I mean, seriously knocked down. And the only way you can do that is from within. So if, for example, November 6th, we don't have a clear winner and it doesn't look like we're going to have a clear winner, at that point, America is rudderless, right? We don't have we have two people claiming to have won. And until the inauguration, which is in January of the following year, you've got this window to where, come on, let's face it. If you were an enemy of the United States, someone we've been slapping around for a while,
yeah.
you want an opportunity, that would be it. You move.
America becomes a no man's land.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Well,
what.
do you remember that photo op that Trump did when he first came into office? And he was sat in the Oval Office, and on one side of him, I think it was on the right side, he had nine generals all lined up. Yes, because the
Yeah,
military is on his side.
right, right, right,
Nine generals, and on the other side, I think it was 11 colonels.
right. I do remember
What
this.
what was said at the time was this is a silent message. 9/11 were coming after the people who did that.
Hmm.
Yeah. That was
Again,
that was the
we
photo op and the story that I got.
would it surprise me at all if we descended into well, I mean, come on, the movie that was called Civil War, which came out what this year? Would it surprise me if we descended into that? Not really, although it's different than the old one, the blue and gray that we did back in the day, because that was, one half of the country versus the other half of the country. We're so divided now. I don't know how it'd play out. Nobody does for sure. We don't know
From
how
from,
bad it would.
from what I've heard,
Yeah,
Trump is doing everything he can to avoid a civil war, and um, that's why there's been no martial law on the street. But as far as I know, the what do they call it? The Home Guard, yes,
yeah,
has been on alert for a couple of years now,
sure.
uh, and I don't know. I don't know the truth of it. I've heard stories, so I'm
It's
only going off of hearsay. So
yeah.
it's
I
all
mean,
rather
and that's it.
confusing.
The National Guard, yeah, don't get me, yeah, no, everybody's confused because you don't know how it's going to go. Nobody knows
And that's
exactly how
that's
it's
the way
going
it's
to.
got to be, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
at
the
this
the
time.
National Guard we have, unfortunately, America is a very big place. It's really spread out. It's more spread out than people understand. It's like, yeah, we've got major cities, but we've got lots of territory. National Guard doesn't even have a fraction of the troops needed to. They can hold the major cities. That's it. Even your smaller cities, there just aren't enough resources to go around. So I'm curious. I can't wait to see how this plays out. But then again, it's easy for me to say because I'm on an island in the northwest corner near Canada.
Yeah,
So I'm I, I'm going to be watching, but I can see Seattle from here. It's visible. It's like 30 miles away. So curious.
it's
Curious.
it's not hidden by the curve.
Funny enough, it's not. It's weird, right? It's not hidden by the curve. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Now, one of the things that I did want to bring up
Yeah.
was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yes. Um,
The movie?
well, the movie, yes. Everything, everything about
Okay.
everything
Okay.
about. Um, because when I was teaching, uh,
Yeah.
uh, a part of learning a new language, and we're learning a new language with FE, with Flat Earth, yes. Uh,
Right.
Part of learning the new language was learning new words, yes. And Snow White is a wonderful example of how light works and how frequencies work. Because you have white, Snow White, passing through a prism, and you have seven uh, smaller lights, if you like, coming out of it,
Oh,
which are violet, yellow, red, orange, green, indigo, and blue. Yeah, not in that order. Yes,
okay.
but the seven dwarfs are supposed to correspond to those colors. Yeah, so this is one of the lessons I would do in my classes when I was teaching. You know, so what color would Doc be? Yeah, what color would Grumpy be? Yeah, so I was trying to get my students on the frequency of these colors because
Right.
those colors are very important in the scheme of things.
Sure.
Um, they say you can divide the digestive system into seven parts, each corresponding to a color of the rainbow. Yeah.
Right.
Um, and so after talking to you and talking about the language, it struck me that um, flat Earth must correspond to those seven levels as well. Yes. So, um, for instance, you would have firmament, stars, sun, moon, waters, earth, and seasons. Yes.
Sure.
Um, and that would make up the white light, if you like, so that you can actually see the flat Earth. Um, and I wondered if you would if you would be able to, because knowledge, you can also have knowledge in these colors. Yes.
Yeah.
And so flat Earth, you can divide flat Earth up into seven components. Now, I was quite interested that you have top, um, the five top evidences of flat Earth.
Right.
I've seen you talk about that.
Yeah.
So, do you think you could give seven evidences that correspond to those colors? Yes.
If I took some time, I probably could. It'd be a little bit of a stretch for some of the colors, but I think I could pull that off. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it could be done.
Okay. So, for instance, red. The red color we can say is intensity. Yes.
Right.
Stamina, vigor. Yes. Reason, clarity, and order. So what sort of evidence do you think would fit those words for red?
Ooh. See the intensity and well, I'd probably just go off the color, to be honest. If I was going to do red, I it sounds a bit cliche, but I'd probably go with the sunset for red and the intensity of the sunset itself and how it can't punch through the atmosphere.
Okay. Another thing about red is robotic. So
Mm,
the clock in the sky,
sure,
the sky clock, yeah,
sure. Yeah.
that would fit with red as well.
Yep. Yep.
Yes. And then, of course, you have orange. Now,
Oh man.
orange is a bit different. It talks about research, researching for the next bit of the puzzle, for instance,
Right.
about purpose and joining things up. Yes. We're talking
Right.
about the frequency of the color.
Yeah.
And so do you joining things up?
I'd go with the eclipse on that one. The sun and the moon, supposedly, according to science, how they meet together in the sky.
Yeah, meeting things up. Yeah. Okay, so how about blue? Now this one is to do with sensitivity and peace, nerves. It can be jittery. Yes, it's about nature, regulating.
Oh, that's too
Yeah,
obvious. That's too easy. It's yeah, it's absolutely the water and all the forms of it. Sometimes the water is dead calm. Sometimes it's jittery, with light wind. It's nature. It's all those things, and it is the number one thing that we use is water. As you know, I didn't tell everybody to go to the beach and start looking off into the distance with long distance cameras, but most of the people that get into our circles, that's how they get it.
Yeah, like ships going over the horizon. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Lighthouses and buildings and yeah.
Okay, so we're on to yellow. Yes.
Okay.
This is relaxed. It's kind of chill out. It's soft, but it's joining emotions. Yes. And
Hmm.
there's sort of a higher emotion and a lower emotion. A higher emotion is like singing songs in church. Yes. That would be high.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
the
so, so, how about this one for yellow?
yellow would go to the religious aspect of it, which is God. Which is, I did one of the clues called They Are Hiding God. And yellow is the one of the overarching themes, which is if it was built, then it was created, which means there is a creator and it was no accident. It was built for a very deliberate purpose, and you are part of it. It was built for you.
Okay. That's very good. Okay. So how about green? Now this is energy. It's dynamic. It's purpose and commitment.
Green would be for me tied to gravity and the theory of, which is that we are told about gravity, the theory, but it's really more tied to electrostatics and density and buoyancy. But it's very purposeful and very reliable, very deliberate. You drop things, they obviously will fall. But the mystery that's tied to them, we're still trying to figure out.
Okay. So now we get on to indigo, and this is new thought, refinement. Yeah, creative, original, and electric. Fast.
Right. That would be, if I had to do Indigo, it would be the overarching theme of it's not necessarily a proof, but it's the methodology, which is do your own research, which is it is when people get into it, it's the speed of thought that drives them, and their minds start racing, and they go down paths they never thought were there possible, but they don't go slowly. They go very, very quickly, and they're rushing into areas because it's brand new, a brand new part of the world which they never thought existed. So, and they figure it out for themselves. Again, why we have such a high retention rate is that people get into it on their own and they do their own work, their own research, their own methodologies. And when they come out of the other side, one way or the other, they're the ones that they proved it to themselves. We didn't do it for them.
Okay, so on to the last one, which would be, oh, you're doing very well, by the
Well,
way.
thank you. Thank you.
Um, On to the last one, which is violet. Yes. Now this
Okay.
this is slow criteria. It's sort of anchoring. There's a there heaviness about it. Permanent lines, the overlord of things, containing stamina, and
Yeah.
it has a gold aspect as well.
Okay. That one for me is the overarching theme is that because you were saying it was slow, everyone that gets into this, we only agree on one thing, which is the earth is measurably flat. Everything else we are trying to work out the best we can. Is there a dome? Isn't there a dome? What about gravity? What about, water and everything that's tied to it? It is it is the anchor, which is that you'll get this reference, which is It doesn't matter what the Scottish Highlands, right? The clans would always just beat the crap out of each other, and again, no offense, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter because they all would do battle together against the English, right? That's when they joined up, which was I have seen this for 10 years now, which is all the factions of Flat Earth. Oh yeah, we'll square off against each other and get in all sorts of heated arguments, but at the end of the day, if there's a glober sitting across from us, it's like, oh yeah, no, we all disagree with you. Yeah, we all disagree with everything that's we're still trying to figure things out slowly but surely. Again, 10 years. But at the end of the day, no, it's still not a globe. The Earth is still measurably flat.
Okay, so those two, indigo and violet,
Yeah,
are like silver and gold,
yeah,
and they're like the vitamins for the whole concept, if you like.
right. There you
Yeah.
go. Sure.
Um, but there's another point with it as well. This
Hmm.
is like the as it says in the Bible, taking a Bible verse,
Hmm.
the rainbow in the sky reminds you of or it's supposed to be there, or it was said it was supposed to be there to remind us of the covenant,
Right,
yes, with God.
right.
Now, the covenant, there's a new covenant as well, and that's not the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. And I think that goes pretty well for the science because they try to tie you down to the letter,
Hmm.
yes, whereas flat earthers look at the spirit of the thing from common sense. Yes.
Very true.
So
Yes, I agree.
so
Yeah, we when we go at it, we don't go at it. It's not emotion based. It's all logic, where it's not like it's not like a religious fervor. I mean, yes, we use religious tones and terms all the time, but we come at it from using science, the language of science. It's not like we came out of nowhere. We just popped out of the ground as flat earthers. Everybody started out in different aspects of science in one way or the other. And we're just saying, hey, you might want to question this because it doesn't make any sense. The stuff that you're putting out there.
well, that's the Snow White of it. The white
Yeah.
of it is the logic. Yeah, the down to
Yep.
earth logic of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So there we have it. We now have the color coded flat Earth.
Yeah. By the way, that is one of the most original things I have ever heard. That's brilliant. Thank you for that. That's neat. I've never gotten a chance to even think about something like that.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you.
Ah,
I spent all day working on it.
no, it's good. That's really, really good. I like it. I mean, I like it even more than the Gilligan's Island Purgatory thing that somebody brought up to me a while back. Did you ever hear about that one?
No.
Gilligan's Island was, a silly show, about these castaways on an island, right? But it has a much, much deeper meaning. The seven, and by that meaning there's seven castaways, right? And they represent the seven deadly sins, where Ginger was vanity, Marianne was envy, the rich guy was obviously um,
Greed.
greed, yes. His wife was um, sloth because she didn't want to do anything. The
Both.
skip the skipper was two of them. He was gluttony because he was so big, and he was wrath because he was always beating Gilligan with his hat.
Yeah.
And Gilligan was the seventh one. He was actually the devil dressed in red, and he was the one that kept everyone from leaving the island. And it was purgatory. It was brilliant. It's like, wow, that is something. Because yeah, he was always the reason they never freaking left. He was the one that actually was torturing them. And the rest of them were the seven deadly sins. It's like, wow, that's pretty good.
Well,
Not bad.
where you say there were seven, there was actually eight. Yeah. So it's the same as the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Kind of fun. But yeah, I loved your color thing. That's great. Really, really good stuff. What else? How do you have a, by the way, I don't want to, I want to make sure that when we sign off, we sign off. Do you have a clock on your side? Do you know how much time we have left?
Um, I can I can kind of work it out. I think we've got about 20 minutes left.
Okay. What do you got left?
Huh?
What else
Yeah.
do you want to talk about?
Oh, um, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Um,
Anything fun? You want to talk about
well,
the you want to talk about the final experiment a little
um,
bit?
yeah, we could do. But
I
also, there's another aspect to these seven dwarfs.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What?
Now, one of the things I used to give all my students, because I'd be seeing them for about 40 hours or something like that. And so I'd always start with the recipe of the day. Yes. And it was only one lesson, and it was a recipe that would last them the whole time. Yes.
Okay.
And I think the recipe of the day is a good one for anyone um that's that's new to flat Earth and wants to progress with it.
Okay.
So you need this recipe to carry on. Yeah.
Okay.
And this recipe is a recipe of qualities would that are very useful for approaching this subject. Okay. So
Okay.
I've forgotten how I used to say it, but uh, you take um you take one spoonful of care. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You take two spoonfuls of patience. Yes, because
Yes.
you need patience.
Yep.
Yeah. Then and then you take like uh, a good ounce of understanding. Yes.
Yep.
You add all these ingredients together. So understanding and um, a couple of cubes of humility. Yes. You need that one as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Then you can move on to things like um, charity with others. Yes.
Mhm.
And the way you share these things and hope. Yes. Hope that people, you know, uh, get to see the idea.
Yeah.
And finally, which I believe is the seventh one, um, that would be to actually radiate, yes, to like a presence around you of all the things that you know. Yes. So you hold on to all of these things and you radiate them. Yes. And now there's there's a point where you can change the world if you change yourself. And with your radiation, yes, you can actually change the world. The other two things that are adjoined with this would be uh, belief. You need some belief in this. Yeah. Not a great deal, but you need some belief to get you going anyway. And you need to be alive with it. Yes. And in your case, perhaps just completely passionate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that
Yeah.
would be the recipe of the day. Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. Those are awesome. Great choices.
Yeah. Well, it's not exactly a Harvey Wallbanger, but
Do people still order those?
huh?
Yeah, when's the last time you had one of those? A Harvey Wallbanger.
Oh, quite some time ago.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I've ever ordered one by name, but thank you for that reference. That's good.
yeah. I think we've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to bring up? Yes.
Um, well, yeah, let's talk about the Antarctica thing really quick because the trolls. I will give them credit that they're actually making an effort to actually go out and do finally. It should be called the final experiment because yeah, you're finally doing one. It's because we've been doing them for years. You've never done any. And then it's like, oh, and this one, it's like, oh, and we're going to drag some of you with us. It's like, all right, whatever. It doesn't matter what happens down there for me because 99% of the people that get into flat Earth don't get into it because of the Antarctic sun. And I've tried to remind people it's like that experiment down there has zero to do with anything, tied to physics, anything tied to the curvature, and anything tied to any of the space programs. Now you could say, well, light optics or physics, like whatever. It doesn't really matter. It has nothing to do with gravity. How about that? Um, which is the big one. So it doesn't hey, I love that Whitsitt and Jaron are going to be there. Fantastic, great. I mean, I think it might be a little premature considering they're not leaving until what, December, which is after the election. The election goes down, so we'll see if anyone's going anywhere. But no, it's not. I am not going to lose a freaking ounce of sleep because I was one of the first guys to bring it up years ago. I said, the people ask, hey, what's the weakest point of the flat Earth? I go, it's the Antarctic sun. I go, optically, you can't do it with one light source. Not really. I mean, it would have to be tricky. You'd have to use more than one light source. I'm not saying it's not impossible. You just can't do it with one physical sun. But it doesn't really, but I also reminded people years ago, I said, it doesn't matter because nobody goes to Antarctica ever for anything. And the only people that are down there are military for the most part. So I was like, who cares? It's a push. No,
And a few
it's
tourists.
yeah, fewer tourists. It has never hurt us in the past. It's like what this again, the trolls are treating it's like this is a brand new thing, right? It's like, oh, the Antarctic sun. It's like, what, you think that no photographer has ever written me or called me and said, I'm pretty sure there's an Antarctic sun 24 hours, 24/7. I've heard this for years. Nobody, never was a sticking point because what I'm going to try to remind people, the big reason why this is not going to get much traction, I mean, it might get a little media traction, but that's it, is the general public does not understand it one way or the other. They just don't. They didn't even understand the Jaron laser experiment at the end of Behind the Curve. I know because I kept talking to them. I said, they said, well, it was bad. I go, do you understand what was supposed to happen? No, but it was bad, right? I go, you're an idiot. Get away from me, right? You don't understand at all. The general public doesn't understand much about science deliberately because we deliberately do not push science and physics because we want to keep people just smart enough to drive cars and go to work, but not smart enough to answer questions. Sorry, real quick, back over to the space program. It's the reason why the soft spacesuit, you got away with it. Why the Americans put the soft spacesuit on television. Anyone that knows anything about physics knows that spacesuit should just expand to fill, the pressure difference. It should turn into a parade float and tip over.
Yeah, but we know that the spacesuits actually do work because they've been tested on the moon.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah,
which is
so
why I
isn't this circular reasoning?
yeah, I have told people. In fact, I remember specifically this big group of people. I was on stage, and I go, "Hey, people in Sweden, Stockholm." I go, "Why do you think the Americans went to the moon?" I know why we think we went to the moon because we're Americans, right? We're delusional, and wave the flag, go team. Why do you think we went to the moon, right? And they all said the same, what you just said. It's like, well, because it was on television and your media would never lie about something like that. And I go, do you know us at all? Like we lie about everything. If it benefits us in some way, the Americans are going to lie about it. I mean,
I've just watched a video called The Matrix, and apparently, our history started really about 500 years ago, and that's when they gave us the five religions 500 years ago.
sure.
I don't know if that's true, but it's something to think about. But
It
before we've only got a minute or so left.
oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
I just wanted to bring up the last subject,
Yeah.
which was meteorites. What do you think they are?
I've been asked this since day one. I just think they're rocks or metal that's thrown into the atmosphere. I do think they might be physical. They might be less just lights on the ceiling, but the bigger question, or they could be just rocks that you throw into an aquarium. The bigger question there is, if we have 6 billion smartphones on this world, why is there not a single video of a rock going from sky to ground? Not one.
Yeah.
Decades we've had this. It's like at the very least, someone on a cruise ship should see one hitting the water, right? It doesn't have to be very big. We see every once in a while we say, "Oh, there's a crater. Oh, look, there's a crater." Show
What
me a video.
wasn't there a story about someone being killed or something, being hit by a
A meteor?
microscopic meteorite?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Again, show me a video of it. Even by accident, even by accident, there should be a video of something going from the air to the ground. And while
Yeah.
we're at it, why are all the craters of the moon, which are huge, why are they all coming in at 90-degree angles,
And
right?
they can fake that as well. They can fake meteorites coming in.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, but they
And
don't.
but what I like is the one from uh, Vibes of the Cosmos,
Yeah,
and they say all the chemicals that go up to the atmosphere,
right.
rise up to the atmosphere, and in the upper atmosphere,
Yeah,
yeah, they start coalescing, and they form solid objects, and these solid objects come back down,
sure,
a bit like
sure.
hailstones.
There you go. Or one more, which is if there are meteors, law of averages says that a satellite would have been hit by one by now. Never's happened, right? And again, it's the whole premise of the
They're
movie
going
Gravity.
too fast. The
Once,
satellites
there
move
you
too fast.
go. There you go. Once a satellite gets hit, starts spinning, law of averages, it's going to cascade into another satellite, and the whole sky is going to be wrecked. All the satellites will eventually be wrecked. It's never ever happened. It's the premise of the movie Gravity. Nobody wants to talk about it. Trolls drive me insane. They're just freaking robots to me.
Yeah,
Trolls are just NPCs. Sorry, go ahead.
the images and the pictures of the of all the satellites and all the space junk that is up there.
Right.
I mean, that's incredible.
Oh, I know. Isn't it
It's
beautiful?
surprising how we get any sunlight. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. Again, the faith, the science has become scientism, the nerds and everything, the faith. There was a girl from Ireland, I said, the Americans stopped going in 1972 to the moon, supposedly. I go, when are we going back? And she looked at me with the most glassy eyes and she goes, soon. We're going back soon. And it's like, yeah, I've heard that, right? I've heard that since every president since Reagan has said that and it's never happened. I go, we're way down the line there. When are we going back? So
sometime in the
anyway,
next 100 years.
yeah, we kick the can down the road, and the general public just gets dumber and dumber and dumber to where look. I will say this. Let me close with this. I'm glad that I'm on the outside looking in than to be them. I would rather be on this side and be. Yeah, I know ignorance is bliss, and I know they're probably content being sheep, but man, once you get on this side, it's like woo. I mean,
Yeah. Well, that's okay for you, Mark. But as for me, I'm not 100% convinced that the Earth is flat. Only 99%. Okay.
okay, all right,
I've always left that 1% open just in case,
sure.
just in case I get hit by a curve somewhere.
There you go. Nice. I may steal that line. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you. It was nice. It was nice talking to you. Um, what's this called, by the way? Is there a name for this podcast?
Um, Interview with MarkkSargent.
Okay.
A,
Where,
a,
where,
a
where?
colorful interview with Mark
Oh,
Sargent.
colorful interview. That's good. That's very clever. Where are you anyway?
I'm in Portsmouth in England.
Is that west side or east side?
That's right at the bottom. That's if you know where the Isle of Wight is.
I do.